I started out bicycling in Philadelphia. I was new, bicycling in city streets was totally new to me. I had bicycled in college. I bicycled where I went to graduate school, but the idea of bicycling in traffic was totally foreign to me. I lived in Manhattan for 7 or 8 years. In the 80s, nobody biked in Manhattan. It was unheard of, at least from my limited perspective. I walked and I took the subway and that was it. But when I moved here, it was a totally different, from New York City, it was a totally different kind of environment. And we didn't have these huge, broad streets where cars were going very fast, as you did in Manhattan. And it still was not something I really thought about doing on a day-to-day basis, but I found that being someone who's sort of perennially always about 5 minutes late and kind of too lazy to walk, and I don't give myself enough time to get somewhere, I found that the bike actually started to become really the best thing for me. And as I said in my essay, I found myself needing to get to an appointment in about 15 minutes, and that was the only option that was really going to work. And at first it was like driving. I think many of you, if you drive, like the first time you start driving, it's just the scariest thing in the world. You think you're going to kill yourself or kill someone else. Well, that's what it was like biking in traffic. And but I found that I could do it, and the more I did it, the more used to it I got, and the better I got. And that's what kind of led me to into this whole world of advocacy. I had worked as an environmental advocate for many years, and what was exciting about the whole idea of bicycling and trails and bike lanes was I didn't have to travel. I could work on it right here in Philly, and I had a sense that I was helping this city, my city, become a better place. And there is nothing more gratifying than seeing the results of your work, and I think that's what makes engineers and architects like get up every day, is they get to see what they do, the results, and that's been really exciting, and there's been enormous improvement over the past 10 to 15 years in Philly with the development of our trails. And with the development of more and more bicycle facilities. But bicycle facilities, I like to just make to impress upon people, are good for bicyclists, but they're good for everybody, believe it or not. They help calm traffic. And whether you want to call it a bike lane or you call it something else, give it another word, what they do, the impact they have is they help cars slow down without necessarily making it that the trip is much longer than they normally that would take. And that helps reduce the amount of crashes that happen, and that helps keep people safer and not going to the hospital. And as we like to say, our spruce and pine buffered bike lanes, which have their issues and have their own sort of controversies, the end result is that those two streets now have 25% fewer reportable crashes, fewer crashes that cause people to go to the hospital. So whether you bike or not, those bike lanes are keeping you safer if you were on those streets. And that, I think, is something that can be spread out beyond Center City, beyond West Philly, to the entire city, and frankly to the whole region. And we can learn a lot from these lessons that these kinds of, the way you kind of carve up the street and distribute it and design it can really have a huge impact on everyone's lives, not just a narrow population.